Just weeks before the ruling party's elective conference and the possibility of the president being impeached is of major concern. The president has come under huge fire for an alleged cover-up at his farm. According to a report into the Ramaphosa Farm Theft, Ramaphosa failed to reveal the source of the funds that were stolen, broke the law by failing to report the theft, and then violated Section 34(1), which read with Section 34(2) of the Prevention and Combating of Corrupt Activities Act. DEA MP Siviwe Gwarube joins me now to discuss this further. Many thanks for your time this morning, Siviwe. And of course, over the last few days, there have been a number of conversations and debates around this particular report. Perhaps share your initial sentiments when it was released. What did you make of the findings of the panel, but also that it conducted its investigation in a swift manner?
Good morning and good morning to your viewers. Look, I mean, we, as you would know, we had really fully committed ourselves to the work of the Section 89 panel, and we were surprised, of course, when it had come to the findings that it did. Not because we thought that the president does not have a case to answer for, but because we considered the narrow nature of the rules as having been limiting for the panel, because as we know, Section 89 in National Assembly rules only indicate that the panel could only look at the information that is available in the public domain and the responses of the president. But seemingly, even in its limited scope, the panel was able to confirm what we have long suspected, and that the president did not uphold sections of the Constitution and may have violated his oath of office. And so now all eyes turn on Parliament as we head to Tuesday, the 6th of December, where this matter will be discussed in the House. And the reality there is that we are going to be deliberating whether or not Parliament should institute a panel or should institute an impeachment inquiry. And our view is that we should, and we will be voting and really imploring even members of the ANC across the aisle to support that, because if an independent panel that is almost judicial has found that the president may have violated his oath of office, I think it's incumbent on us as this institution, as the legislature in the country, and as people who are meant to hold the executive to account, to at the very least put together an impeachment inquiry which will then ascertain these things for certain.
Siviwe, as the DA, if this impeachment inquiry does not get the 50+1 votes that it needs to follow through, what would your other options be as the DA, the next steps you would then look to take?
Look, as we have announced that we will be submitting a motion to dissolve Parliament in accordance to Section 50 of the South African Constitution, because our view is that we cannot be in a situation where we have a president that is facing essentially impeachable charges that continues to either be in office, or we cannot have a situation where South Africans are trapped between having to choose a president that is compromised in terms of his oath of office, or whoever else the ANC chooses to field as an acting president in the meantime. We think that it's time to take the power back to the people. This is why, in our view, the reason why Section 50 of the Constitution exists, because we think that the drafters of the Constitution foresaw a scenario where Parliament would need to be dissolved before its term is up. And we think that these are such significant times that it's actually just incumbent that South Africans go to the polls and they choose a government of their choosing. And if they vote for the ANC again, and that is entirely the democratic process that, that they've followed. However, we don't think that it is fair for South Africans to be trapped with a choice of, which is the lesser of two evils. We think that we should be able to go to the polls. And so we will be submitting that motion to Parliament to say that we should dissolve the House. We no longer have really a stable government if the head of state is facing impeachable or allegations of impeachable offense.
There's that argument that you've just put to us, Siviwe, but there's also the argument that this situation in itself has created a lot of economic turmoil and uncertainty. We saw the rand falling to levels we haven't seen in a while, and so the other side of the argument is that let us allow some stability in the economic realm to come about before we explore these options, in that there are other issues that South Africa should perhaps be focusing on. What do you say to that particular argument, but also what we've seen as the immediate shock to the currency and investor sentiment?
Look, we can't ever be in a scenario where we have to choose stability or upholding the rule of law. The reason why South Africa is a constitutional democracy is because the fact that we are committed to really upholding the Constitution. Our head of state is suspected to have violated his oath of office. And we can't be in a scenario where we now must wrinkle our hands and say, for the sake of stability, let's sweep this under the rug so that we can make sure that, we remain stable and the rand remains stable. This is of the president's own making. And this notion somehow that, these allegations are not that serious, the recommendations of the independent panel must be looked at with a pinch of salt, also feeds into this notion that there's certain people that are expected to, face the full might of the law, and there's certain people who should be exempt. And we're not interested in that. So we are interested in whether or not we uphold the rule of law. And in fact, even the investor sentiment is also hinges on the fact that we're a constitutional democracy whose institutions are strong. And so we really can't, we can't lean heavily on the one side to say, for the sake of stability, we must overlook certain things. If a president that has taken an oath of office breaks that oath, then we must do what the Constitution expects us to do.
And just like my mother says, South Africa should not operate like Animal Farm, where some animals are more equal than others. Siviwe, we'll leave it there this morning. Thank you very much for your time, Siviwe Gwarube, joining us this morning to discuss the Phala Phala saga.